So, what is it that makes a really scary story get under your skin? It's not just about things jumping out at you. It's about how the fear is built like a piece of architecture. Today, we're going to deconstruct a short, sharp, and pretty terrifying script called The Canvas Guest to see exactly how the writer builds that fear, brick by brick. Let's get into it. We're going to hit the 5 key moments in this story. First, how the stage is set. Then, that first impossible moment where things go wrong. We'll track how the threat gets bigger and bigger, see how 2 different realities collide, and finally, we'll look at that absolute gut punch of an ending. Every great horror story doesn't start with a monster. It starts with a mood. Before anything truly scary can happen, the writer has to make us feel vulnerable. So how do they actually pull that off? Okay, listen to the words they're using here. It's not just dark, it's a blue light that feels cold, right? Unnatural. And the silence isn't just quiet, it's broken by this frantic scratch. That one sound just makes the silence feel even bigger, and it tells us right away that our main character, Alara, is totally on edge. So you can see what the writer's doing. They're basically stacking the deck. First, isolation. She's all alone, late at night. Then, those sharp sensory details. We have a character who's exhausted, so she's not at her sharpest. And maybe most importantly, we have this ominous object, that doorway in her painting that just feels wrong. That's where all our unease is going to focus. All right, so the mood is set. We're feeling a little unsettled. Now it's time for the writer to just break the rules of reality. Let's see how this thing escalates from just being creepy to being flat-out terrifying. And this, right here, is the core of so much great modern horror. It doesn't happen in some spooky old castle. It happens in a normal apartment to a totally normal art student. The real fear comes from watching that normal, believable world get completely violated. And there it is. That's the pivot point. A hand just appears where it absolutely cannot be. See, it's not a jump scare. It's this quiet, chilling impossibility that she has to deal with. And so do we. The art isn't just a static object anymore. It's changing all by itself. This line is just everything. 2 simple words that confirm our worst fear. This isn't a trick of the light. It's not her tired mind playing tricks on her. Something is fundamentally wrong here, and reality has been broken. So that feeling we're getting right now, it actually has a name. It's called the uncanny. It's that creepy-crawly feeling you get from a doll that looks a little too real, or a mannequin in a store window. A drawing is familiar, a hand is familiar, but a hand appearing on its own inside a drawing, that's what makes it so deeply strange and unsettling. It takes something safe, her own art, and turns it into a source of pure dread. Okay, so a hand is in the painting. We're officially scared. But a good horror writer, they don't just stop there. They have to keep turning the screw, making that threat feel closer and a whole lot more real. Just look at how deliberate this is. The writer is building this tension with surgical precision. First, a tiny movement on the canvas. It's weird, but it's contained in the painting. And then, a sound in the room. The threat just crossed over from the 2D world into our 3D space. Then the writer pulls our focus back to the painting as the full figure steps out. And then bam, another sound, and this time it's closer. The writer is just masterfully messing with us, playing with where we think the danger actually is. And by using the sound of a creaking floorboard, the writer is forcing our own imaginations to do the heavy lifting. We can't see what made that noise, so our brain conjures up something way worse than what they could ever show us. The threat isn't just in the painting anymore. It's in the room with Alara, and it's in the room with us. And now we've hit the climax. That psychological terror and the physical threat, they're about to crash into each other in a really horrifying way. This is the big payoff for everything that's been building. This is just such a brilliant moment of horror writing. So Alara checks her reflection in the window. That's the objective truth, right? And she sees she's alone. She should be safe. But then she looks back at the canvas, her own subjective creation, and it's telling her the real story. The painting has somehow become more accurate than reality itself. And here it is. The final barrier just dissolves. What was happening in the painting is now happening to her. The threat is no longer something she's just looking at, it's something she can actually feel. The monster has crossed over completely. Now the story could have ended right there. The terror is real, it's physical, but the writer has one last devastating twist up their sleeve, and it's delivered with a single line that completely reframes everything we just witnessed. That dry, raspy whisper right in her ear. "You forgot to finish the eyes." This changes everything. This isn't some random monster that just wandered in. The voice implies a relationship. It's like a creation talking to its creator. Alara didn't just stumble upon this thing, she was in the middle of making it. She's not just the victim anymore, she's the source.
And then, fade to black. The story leaves us in the dark with that final, horrible thought, and that sharp, definitive sound of a pencil snapping. The tool she was using to create is now broken. The act of creation is violently over.
Ultimately, The Canvas Guest isn't just about a monster in a painting. It's a terrifying look at the creative process itself. And it leaves us with this really chilling question. What dark things do we give shape to when we create something? And what happens if one day that creation decides we're not finished?